From Termination to Triumph, a journey of self-respect and professional growth. At 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, I sat across from Victoria in her imposing office, clutching my purse to stop my hands from shaking. The email she had printed out lay in front, of her, its words cold and final. "You interviewed with North Bay Solutions last Thursday, and your building access is revoked immediately." In the 6 years I had dedicated to Harbor Point Communications, I had tripled my client portfolio, brought in millions in revenue, and earned the respect of top-tier accounts, including North Bay Solutions, our largest client, which represented nearly 30% of the company's annual revenue. But none of that mattered. The reality hit me as Victoria coldly announced my firing. She seemed to think I had been disloyal, but in truth, my decision to explore opportunities elsewhere was driven by years of underappreciation, not betrayal. Had spent years asking for a raise, each time met with excuses. The company's budget was tight, while Victoria drove her new luxury SUV and approved expensive office expansions. I had kept my loyalty intact despite feeling ignored. But this was the last straw. After 3 denials, my respect for the company had vanished. Standing up and shaking her hand with grace, I collected my things, with no drama, just dignity. As I walked out the door for the final time, the weight of the injustice still burned. But I knew something important. This wasn't a punishment. It was an opportunity. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a message from David Clean, CEO of North Bay Solutions. "Can we move our final discussion to 2 p.m. today?" He had no idea what had just happened, but his message made me smile. Victoria had no idea what was coming. At Harbor Point, I had risen from making coffee runs to managing the largest client, North Bay Solutions, by anticipating their needs and building strong relationships. But after years of unfulfilled promises and constant denial of raises, I had decided it was time to look elsewhere. I had always been loyal, but that loyalty was never reciprocated. Now, my opportunity with North Bay was coming to fruition. I had already secured an interview, but after the termination, David wasted no time offering me the position of Director of Client Strategy. The offer was almost double what I was making at Harbor Point and was exactly what I had requested in my most recent raise requests, an amount that had been dismissed. David's offer was everything I had been denied at Harbor Point. He was clear that my termination had only accelerated their decision, but it felt like the perfect timing. Victoria's decision had worked against her, and in reality I had never needed to actively seek revenge. The company's own failings had done that for me. At North Bay Solutions, I was given a real office, a team to lead, and the respect I had long been denied. As I started my new role, I realized the freedom of working for a company that valued me, not just my productivity. The irony of having gone from managing a single account to overseeing all marketing partnerships at the very company Harbor Point had lost was not lost on me. Victoria's reaction to the news would be one of shock. After all, she hadn't just lost me. She had lost North Bay Solutions as a client. As I navigated the transition of managing that account to Meridian Creative, I could almost feel her panic. It was poetic justice, yet I didn't need to gloat. I had moved on, and my success spoke louder than any words. The response within Harbor Point was quick. Employees were shocked, and some began updating their resumes. A message from Thomas, Harbor's IT specialist, told me that Victoria had been holding emergency meetings all day. She was trying to frame my firing as a loyalty issue, but everyone saw through it. They knew I had been the backbone of the North Bay relationship, and they weren't sure what would happen now that I was gone. It was the beginning of a major shift. Within a few days, I received a LinkedIn message from Jessica, Harbor Point's receptionist. "Victoria's in emergency meetings all day," she said, "but everyone's talking about how wrong this was. You were the best of us." Her words warmed me, but I knew it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about a company culture that had failed to recognize my worth. As the weeks went by, I focused on building my new team at North Bay and settling into my role. The work we were doing was thriving, and so were my team members. Everyone had found their place, with recognition, support, and a clear path to growth. Meanwhile, Harbor Point's internal struggles continued. Victoria's management tactics were causing disarray, and key employees were following in my footsteps, leaving for new opportunities. The company's reputation was beginning to unravel. Then came the final twist, an offer from the board of Harbor Point, trying to lure me back with a significant salary increase and the title of Senior Account Director. But it was too little, too late. I had already made my decision. I had moved on, and I wasn't looking back. They had given me the push I needed to realize my value and take control of my career. When Victoria heard that North Bay Solutions had decided to move their business to Meridian Creative, I couldn't help but feel a sense of professional satisfaction. The decision had been made on objective criteria: Harbor Point's inability to provide consistent service and the company's treatment of employees as expendable. Victoria's attempt to frame me as disloyal had backfired. Weeks later, a former colleague from Harbor Point sent me a message. "The office is in chaos," they said. "Victoria's been in emergency meetings all day." Karma had worked its magic, but I wasn't interested in gloating. My focus was on the future, and it was clear that my future lay in a place where I was valued, not just for my results, but for my integrity and professionalism. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't in tearing down what hurt you. It's in building something better. Harbor Point had failed to see my worth until it was too late, but that mistake had opened the door to a better opportunity. 1 year later, as I stood in my new office at North Bay Solutions, now officially the Director of Client Strategy, I reflected on everything that had brought me here. The struggles, the setbacks, and even the unfair treatment, all of it had led to this moment. I had learned to value myself, and in doing so, I had built a career that was worth so much more than I had ever imagined. In the end, success wasn't about revenge. It was about creating a future that didn't need fixing.